Hello and welcome to Bean Pod, our writing and entertainment podcast. I'm Natalie.
I'm Liam.
And I'm Kirsty.
In today's episode, we're talking about Sherlock Holmes. I'm sure many people have come across him at some point.
Maybe.
In our second topic, we're also going to discuss the other detectives and stories that he's inspired over the years, and then we will write our own murder scenes. I'm wondering what we're going to get out of everyone on this one.
We're going to see. Yeah.
My much talked of and little seen dark side may have turned out.
Yes, hooray.
And then after that, we're going to go into our regular segments of our news story, which Liam is going to read out today.
Hey.
The 5-minute faff, and then our pod challenge. So, let's get started. First of all, when did we all first encounter Sherlock Holmes?
Who's going first? Mine was probably the Jeremy Brett series that used to get on ITV, and we had some stories at home. We read through them, but the main thing that I've come across when I saw the advert for it was the BBC's version of Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch. And the Robert Downey Jr. films, of which there have been two, and are okay, I guess.
They're okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind watching them. They're kind of a chill-out movie for me, and I just love the music in them. Fantastic.
They're fun to watch.
Yeah, they're fun to watch. They're a good chill-out film.
I think my original, the first image that comes to my head of the original Sherlock Holmes, I'm pretty sure is Basil Rathbone's version of Sherlock Holmes.
Very good, very good.
Lurking around on the TV somewhere.
Yes.
You know, that's my original exposure to Sherlock Holmes.
I think that's the original for a lot of people as well. They
For me, it would have been the original, but I didn't realise what it was at the time.
I'm watching this detective on the TV who's called Sherlock Holmes, okay. And then it sort of became, there's this, and there's this, and there's, oh, hello.
I think you figure out when you're at sort of school, the teachers will talk about Sherlock Holmes and then an actual person or not, and that's what, Arthur Conan Doyle come up with. Yeah,
and was very frustrated.
It's a common name.
Yes, it is.
A common surname. Originally we came up, we had the books first, so that's where it all came from. Sherlock came from the books. So what have you read of the books? I really struggle to read detective novels, so this is Liam and Kirsty's area.
Well, that's the thing, with Sherlock Holmes, there's only actually 4 novels, and the rest are short stories that were published in The Strand.
Which are quite easy to get through.
Yeah.
They take about 40 minutes to an hour to read.
If that. It depends how quickly you read, I suppose.
Yeah.
I read
Depends on the story. Some of them longer.
I read a couple this morning to prepare for this episode, and they took me about 25-30 minutes each. So you can get through most of the cases you can call them cases, in a few days, I imagine. But the novels, they tend to be a little more difficult. I think that's what we were discussing. Things like The Hounds of the Baskerville.
I've heard a lot about that being a tough read.
A lot of people enjoy the book, but it is a slog. It is an absolute slog to read through it. I prefer a Study in Scarlet. I nearly pronounced that incorrectly there. Study in Scarlet. I prefer that over The Hounds of the Baskervilles. The Hound of the Baskervilles, even. I'm mixing it up with the Sherlock episode.
People have distorted that name for their own uses in TV.
So many times.
Several times. So
the
Hounds of Baskerville, the Hounds of the Baskerville, the Hound of Baskervilles. Oh, goodness gracious.
And then you got Tess of the D'Urbervilles just to mix it all up.
I've got through... I attempted to read The Hound of the Baskervilles just because I wanted to read The Hound of the Baskervilles when I was younger. I started twice. Didn't really get past the client turning up. Because it was an awful lot of them just sitting in their study and talking, and I couldn't manage it. But I think having read through the short stories first, it'll be easier the next time around. When I finally get to it, because I've got used to the writing style now.
I think that is the trickiest thing with it, because it's a very different style of writing. It's not the style we're used to anymore. It's a different format of reading, and you do have to learn how to read it. That's what you got to do. You have to learn how to read that style.
And I find it interesting, especially in the short stories, they're obviously a lot less padded out because they are shorter, but it's almost as though, bang, they're straight into it. You know, you've got the client turning up almost instantly in a majority of the stories.
You get like a paragraph of...
Yeah, a paragraph of what is going on. Usually Holmes mucking about on his violin or taking some...
Oh, we have a guest, by the way.
Or taking some nefarious drug. Watson just sort of stares at him and goes, oh. And then they're like, oh look, someone's come through the door.
That he has.
Yes. Oh, how excellent. What?
It's like, oh, did I tell you we've got somebody coming? Or...
You've talked about the short stories, but what about the actual... How many of the actual stories have you... Like, the main stories have you gone through, and which ones did you like best?
The novels?
The actual novels, yeah.
I've only read one. They haven't come up on my works yet. I'm reading them in the order they're coming up on my Kindle, because I can't skip through them.
I've read 2 of the novels, and I would say about 12 of the short stories.
Yeah.
I have no idea how many of the short stories I've read.
Well, like I said, there's
Over
56, so...
Over half.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay, that's a lot.
56 of them and then 4 novels.
I didn't realise there were that many. I had no idea.
They're not that long. I've got a big...
Yeah, but I know there are novels as well, so that's why I'm looking at the book.
Those are only the short stories.
Well, you didn't say that. I didn't. That was just the short stories.
Yeah. To give slight context, this book's about an inch or so thick.
Yeah.
That's not an inch.
That's not an inch. That's more than an inch.
2 inches.
Yeah. From the books, we can go on to the TV series. So there have been several series. We said about Basil Rathbone and Jeremy Brett and
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yes, the most recent one, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Elementary as well.
Yeah, with Johnny Lee Miller.
So
2 very different animals.
Yes.
Well, all 4 of them are very different animals, really.
I don't think any of us have seen recently enough the old ones to really talk about them.
Well, but I tend to find Basil Rathbone, I think, is the truest to the books, so far as I know.
A lot of...
He's pretty good, yeah.
Jeremy Brett's was a bit more light-hearted, because it was ITV. Well, Granada, technically.
Yes.
So it was very... almost like your Poirot sort of things. And the sort of later incarnations are cherry-picking parts of his psyche and his sort of antisocial behaviour, whereas like the older ones are more focused on Conan Doyle's writing and how he is, especially when it comes to like female characters as well.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I do notice in the books that I don't notice in things like the BBC version of Sherlock is his attitude towards women, whereas he's not the whole attracted side of things, but he's very at ease with them and he talks to them on a level par with everybody.
Yes.
Whereas
he's respectful, but
but not interested.
Kind of way.
Yeah, not interested, I suppose, would be the way of putting it.
The same way he's not interested in anyone, really.
Apart from a certain Irene Adler.
Apart from the one.
Yeah, the woman.
Who is an academic challenge as much as anything else.
His interest is piqued because she is such a challenge.
Yeah, and because she beats him in wit. So, the whole scandal in Bohemia, that's another one of the... short. I think it's a short story.
It's the first short story. I think.
It's not the. It's not a novel. Whereas
one of the longer short stories.
Yes. Whereas things, I think it's Hounds of the Baskervilles, A Study in Scarlet.
That's the first one on my complete work, Study in Scarlet. So I think it might be first.
Yes, I think the Hounds second.
It's a later one because
and then there's a couple of others.
That's why he's not in it very much.
No. And then there's a couple of other ones that I can never remember because I haven't read them. So
yeah.
Yes. So, out of all of the TV series, I've only really seen the BBC TV series with Benedict Cumberbatch. But which one of the episodes did you like the most?
With the Benedict one, I went for again the Hounds of Baskerville. Very, very sort of normal choice.
Yeah.
Mostly because the modern take on it was very good, I thought. It's being set in modern times. Some of the stories are a bit jarring, whereas this one, it could almost be transferred straight to a modern time. with the sort of the whole hounds thing and the whole mental imagery and everything like that. Whereas some of the other ones I don't think fit as well, but they also fix a lot of, say, the plot holes in that as well, and some of the writing, because it is, as we said before, a challenge to read through the books. Whereas, watching it is a lot easier, and it's genuinely one of the more exciting episodes, I thought.
It is more. It turns it into more of an adventure. It's not just an investigation; it's an adventure. I think that's why so many people.
While I was watching it.
Yes, it's done that to me as well.
To us as well.
It is, yeah. It's the one we could relate to the best. I think. Yes.
This is up on Dartmoor, isn't it?
Yeah, camping on Dartmoor. That's the beast.
The dodgy pub. Oh, Dartmoor Hill,
yeah. That's about right.
It looks a lot like where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So what one's your favourite then, Kirsty?
I think I'm probably going to go from within the BBC series with The Study in Pink.
Yeah.
Because
that's a good one.
It sets everything up marvellously.
It does.
I do like it a lot.
Yeah, it is very good.
So what part of it did you like the most out of the whole sort of episode then?
I think just the establishment of the two characters, and Mrs. Hudson and Mycroft, and just the way everything is revealed and knitted together because it's the first exposure to modern day Sherlock, and it's quite odd. But they just gradually fold you into it. All the components that you know from the stories and everything else, they're still here. And it just folds you in very nicely. And it's just like, well, there we go. I'm happy now.
And then we get the whole deduction thing in the taxi as well, where he sees John's phone and he deduces that it was handed down to him.
Yes.
And,
which is a direct pick from the books.
Yes.
From a pocket watch.
Yes. Although the whole thing about you can tell that when he said about a drinking habit or something, and you can tell by the scratches around the socket.
Everybody
I was like,
immediately then was worried about plugging their phone into charge in the dark.
It's like
because
in the
plug
dark,
their phone in after they turn the lights out. Because I do it.
I do it all the time.
I don't want to look like a drunk.
Yeah.
I'm not drunk. With it.
Yeah. Yeah, so
although I've never seen those scratches on anybody's phone.
No, I actually also worry about it when I'm trying to stick my key in the ignition in the car, because I sort of go, where's the bit?
You not just find it?
No, I'm never able to find it straight away.
It's your car.
I know, I just
can't.
can't.
Do it in the van at work as well now.
I can't do it. No.
Sorry, off topic there, Slay.
Yeah,
yes,
a little bit. But going back, you've also got Elementary as well. Now, I have watched parts of that, and
I've watched several episodes of that.
Yeah, whilst it's not brilliant, I wouldn't say it was as bad as the backlash from like the BBC fans have given it, because they're two entirely different things. It's been made for an American audience, and American programs and British programs are completely different things. That's why initially The Office didn't work.
Yeah.
Because they tried to make an American version of the British one. So when they were doing that, it lost all of the humour in it. Whereas with Elementary, they just went straight in. They do it almost like your Monster of the Week type of thing from the superhero ones.
Runs like an American cop show, basically.
But there's the underlying arc through all of it. It's got some interesting twists on it. Mrs. Hudson is a transgender character, if I recall.
Yes.
And obviously you've got is Lucy Liu is Watson. Yeah, Joan Watson. But initially I was worried that they were going to go down the romance angle, but they didn't, which was quite refreshing to see.
Relieving.
Yes, because obviously there's also always the subtext between Sherlock and John in... Well, almost all of them, really.
Yes. Unavoidable, really.
Yeah. However,
right from the books.
However, when you put the female character in Elementary, it's not there anymore. They're almost they're very platonic, I feel.
Very well played, and very well written.
The way they bring the two of them together in Elementary doesn't have it on quite the same standing where they come at with two equals, they are brought together on the grounds that Watson is being employed as his sober coach, effectively. Which doesn't exactly endear Sherlock to her particularly well at the beginning. So there's a great deal of... It takes time before the relationship settles into something.
Yeah.
Which the resentment that happens there does help to mediate the underlying tension. It doesn't happen so much.
Yeah.
But then that sort of disappears towards the end of it as well.
They fall into the swing of things without it going any further.
So, bringing up a bit of controversy now, because I know we've got a bit of mixed opinions here.
Back to the BBC.
Back to the BBC series and the Christmas special that we had, the New Year special. What did we think of that? Because I actually really liked it. It was one of those moments where my mind was a little bit blown. But I know that Liam was not as impressed.
Rubbish. It is rubbish. I have watched it more than once before anyone comments about that.
Yes, but you have a right to comment.
Yeah, you have a right to comment, but I thought it was rubbish. I thought it was cheap. I thought it wasn't as much of a mind-blowing twist as a more the really sort of hint, and then there's the whole little twist thing at the end as well, which, spoilers. It could be implied that the Victorian version of Sherlock is actually true, and he's imagining the future version of Sherlock. And that, to me, I think it's just...
I love the mind-bendingness of it, though. It's like, but which one is it?
They left it open.
That, to me,
is... They didn't leave it that open.
No, they didn't.
The bit where they're on the falls, that was actually the go back.
Yeah.
They didn't leave it open, actually. They left it open the first time, the second time they didn't.
But this
Not quite recovered yet.
The dog has got into the room.
I thought you'd be able to hold it, but you can't.
Yeah. But no, that to me is the main problem I have with it. It seems as though they had so many ideas, but they didn't run with any of them.
Unfortunately, I gotta say, that might be a Moffat issue.
Yes, unfortunately, the head writer... Well, I have many opinions on him, anyway, due to the Doctor Who thing, but it was... I don't know. I just had a very underwhelming feeling from the whole episode. I didn't enjoy it compared to a lot of the rest. Some of the other episodes are a bit weaker. The Blind Banker springs to mind. That one wasn't great. Whereas some of the other episodes...
I haven't not liked any of the episodes.
I wouldn't say I disliked it, but compared to the other ones, it just seems a lot weaker.
Yeah.
I suppose the word weaker would be the best way to say
weaker.
The problem is they've set themselves quite a high bar with some of the episodes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So an average episode is really not going to cut it at any point.
No.
Because Series 3, Magnuson, I thought he was a very good villain.
Very good, yes.
How they did that was very impressive.
I was
cleverly done.
Disappointed with the end of it, to be honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
They saved themselves at the end as well.
Not so much that, it's purely the fact that, if anybody's not seen Series 3 at this point,
well,
close your ears.
Really,
it's been like 3 years.
I think we're safe at this point. But the fact that I'm going to spoil now. The documents that he's supposed to be blackmailing people with don't actually exist completely negates him as a danger.
Yes.
He doesn't actually have anything on anybody.
No.
Well, he does, but it's all in his mind palace, technically.
Well, how are you meant to give proof? Blackmail somebody with something that doesn't exist?
There is that, yes.
This was me just kind of going, well, you're going to slander somebody, but that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Say something bad.
I think...
Which could be bad, but...
But if you haven't got the proof because it's all in your head, then how can you prove it? How can any of this be taken as genuine?
Him having the proof is he's already seen it. That's the point, isn't it? He's already seen it, so he's stored it so that he can bring it up in conversation. So he must know where that information is. but he can use that in person to say, oh yes, I know about this.
But the point was, he said there wasn't a vault with all this stuff in, so
where it is, again, one of those plot points that tends to disappear.
There's some things he could do with what he's got, but it severely limits the scope of him if he doesn't actually have all this blackmail material there.
Yeah. I think that's...
In the short story, the original short story, there is actually a safe with the papers in, which resolves with Sherlock throwing them all into the fire in the story. Just the fact that these papers don't exist just had me sitting there kind of going, well, what's he actually blackmailing them with?
I think it's also a power thing. Because these people know they're guilty, it's a power thing that he's able to do what he's able to do. It's a riff off of Rupert Murdoch as well, if you think about it. And just the sort of power...
If you don't have the documented evidence, there's no...
It's not just that, though. It's the power you hold over people gets you where you are. That's ultimately how it works. But again, your point,
incredibly flimsy by the end of it, in my opinion.
Which is unfortunate because he was going so well.
It was going incredibly well.
If there'd been an actual vault, I would have been much happier.
Yes.
The fact that they went Mind Palace just made me kind of go, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But what if there was a vault and he was just lying? And they shot him for no reason. Spoilers.
In the short story, it's not actually them that shoot him. They've broken into his house and somebody else who's already he's messed up comes in and shoots him. He's like, I'm just going to burn everything while we're here and then run away.
They did have that scene, which was one of the better scenes in the episode.
Yes.
The whole bullet and working out what to do after you've been shot.
Yeah.
Inside the Mind Palace was quite good.
That was good. I did like that.
Yeah, the only issue I have with that is where they just kind of went Mind Palace at the end of it. It's like, really?
It's like,
otherwise,
how we could solve this? Mind Palace. What?
Just give them a vault.
Yeah.
Give them a vault full of actual paper documents.
The whole Occam's razor thing. Just make it the most obvious thing that they can. Just give him loads of security around the vault.
Yeah. Clearly has the money for it.
Well, yeah, if you have that much power.
I know. Right, so moving on from the series a little bit, what do you think about the characters? So Sherlock is our main character, but we've got Watson. We've had so many different versions of Watson. You mentioned a little bit with Lucy Liu.
Jude Law in the films.
Jude Law. And also other supporting characters as well. So the variations in them and how they've been performed. What do you think of all of those?
I think Irene Adler and Moriarty spring to mind immediately because they're I suppose the two almost most famous ones apart from Watson.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to Moriarty. It's like in the films with Robert Downey Jr., he's hinted at pretty much throughout the first film. And then Jared Harris, I wasn't entirely convinced that he was a very good Moriarty.
No.
He didn't seem that much of a threat.
No. He did the professory bit quite well.
Well, he's got that down.
Yes.
That was,
the intellectual
you're
threat.
Supposed to get at Moriarty. That's what you're supposed to get in the first impression. It's the next bit that would not.
He didn't quite carry it through.
Yeah, he didn't have quite that sinister mix, apart from where they fridged Rachel McAdams. It's Rachel McAdams, isn't it? They fridged her for man pain reasons to up the stakes, and I was like, well, that's lazy writing, and frustrated the three of us that were watching it. But it's interesting because Elementary, again, spoilers if you haven't watched it, but Irene Adler and Moriarty are the same person. That's the big twist in Series 1.
Yes, I have seen the end episode.
Yeah, and I thought that was quite a good take because they built Irene Adler up, they've had Sherlock and Irene sort of interaction, and then suddenly, wham, this person's the villain. Suddenly it all clicks how this is going on, and you're like, oh, that was quite clever, actually. And it's, what's her name? Natalie Dormer.
Dormer.
Yeah. Sorry. And it's Natalie Dormer playing her. I suppose her, because she's not a male character, but she's got that sort of sinisterness about her as well. Again, I really like the BBC version of Moriarty. He's brilliant.
He plays it very well.
He's a different Moriarty.
He's very creepy.
Creepy insane.
But because Benedict's character's not really the punchy kung fu type that you get. I mean, he does a bit. You don't need a Moriarty that's physically the battle for him. Whereas
much more mental.
Yeah. Andrew Scott's version he's very up there, and he has that sort of Moriarty thing where he gets bored as well. That when you've got such an intelligent character, they do get bored, and that come across really well.
The full scale.
Yeah, which is where you get the whole we're so alike. You and I, Sherlock, we're so alike. Because you both get bored, and one of you decides to solve crimes, and the other one decides to create them.
They exist nicely together.
Yeah.
But I was less impressed with Irene. Yeah. Irene in the BBC version, because she starts as this really strong character, and then suddenly she's not working alongside Moriarty, as is hinted at the start. She's actually working for Moriarty. And that was sort of like... That's the only way I could describe it. I was just like, really?
Yeah. She serves a purpose within that episode.
Yeah.
But she was never really designed to go any further, was she?
No, she wasn't.
She was for the episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is a bit disappointing, because she was one of the more interesting aspects of the episode.
Definitely.
Well, considering it's based on a scandal in Bohemia.
Yeah.
The point.
Yes. Right, so we'll move on to part 2 of our detective Sherlock section. So, in terms of what Sherlock Holmes has influenced, there are many detectives that have come from him, but which do you find to be the most obvious?
Great Mouse Detective. He's got a deer stalker, for goodness sake.
Yes, he does.
A direct list.
But all joking aside, I think the most obvious one for me is Dr. Gregory House from House.
Yes.
And when I looked up the comparisons, because I knew of a couple, there's quite a lot. The fact that he lives in 221, flat 221, door B, so it's 221B.
Yeah.
Wilson is his best mate, because that's close to Watson, and they do live together at one point when Wilson has an ex-wife issue. They both do drugs. House doing Vicodin and Sherlock doing opium, and they're both great at musical instruments as well. That was a subtle hint. Whereas House is on the piano and a guitar, Holmes is on a violin, and the most obvious one being that Moriarty turns up at the end of series 2 to shoot House. So, if you're going to really drop a hint, make it quite obvious, I suppose.
Well, here we go.
Okay, so any that you can think of, Krusty?
Well, I think pretty much any detective that follows that, you can trace Sherlock Holmes somewhere.
And you often find references as well. And the thing that I always think of is Miss Marple for Sherlock, because she's like almost the female version.
Yeah.
She's the quieter version. She just lets people incriminate themselves.
Yeah.
Poirot is also the kind of, I think, probably more directly.
Yeah, and then you've got things like Luther.
Oh yeah, Luther is very the whole tormented detective. He works things out like character in Alice Morgan, who's she's introduced in the first episode, where, again, spoilers, she's actually killed her two parents, where she's made out she hasn't done it, someone else has, and it's a battle of wits between the pair of them, and they have a sort of love-hate relationship. They both want to kill each other, but they also both want to run off into the sunset together. So it's a very interesting relationship.
Yeah.
And I quite like Luther. It also scared the hell out of me and Amanda when we were watching it, because there's one episode where there's a killer that hides under beds.
Oh man, no.
Yeah. And it's not immediately as well, because someone will go to sleep, and then what will happen is it passes for about 30 seconds, and then he pops out. But he's completely silent. You're just like, no.
I'm so glad I don't have an under the bed, because
I still get freaked out by that, even though I know I've got a divan. There's this much. There's like literally,
a couple of centimeters.
Yeah,
you can barely get your hand under the bed to look for stuff that's rolled under there.
You're still convinced that someone's hiding under there.
There could be something under the bed.
But it's
coming up the side of the bed that's pressed against the wall.
Oh no!
Really? There's no gap here. There's no gap there. There's no gap under there. Why am I scared? I don't know, but I still am.
But he also appears in the attic of one of them. Just to really. He makes little noises, and they go up to check, and it's only when they pull the cover off him that he reacts to them, and that's just like the actor playing him. I forget his name. And I really shouldn't, but the actor playing him, he doesn't have any lines, and it's all done through his face and things like that. And that just was like, after watching the episodes, I was like, I'm feeling a bit nervous. Apparently, sales of beds with gaps under went down after the episode.
I'm not surprised.
They rung up the BBC to complain. I was like, wow. Yeah.
So, any others? I mean, we've got things like Silent Witness, Midsummer Murders. Oh yeah. I mean, never go to Midsummer Murders. It's the
who lives there?
I know.
Well, plenty of people.
Like recently, we've had Shetland, and as my dad said, how are there enough people on Shetland to murder?
People just keep moving to this place with a ridiculously high murder rate. I'm not quite sure what's
well, the house prices might be like, I don't know, $5,000.
Yeah.
And you just
think, this is a nice place.
Well, there's a 1 in 200 chance I'll get murdered, but $5,000. Yeah.
Like a nice big 3 bed.
Yeah. Okay for that.
I'll take that risk of being shot with an arrow because I've done something naughty that got recorded. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's basically how it works.
When it happens.
Yes. Just make sure you have eyewitnesses everywhere. And
going to Shetland, that's based off a book as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like you said, I'm sure there's only about 100 people on Shetland, and they've had like 5 murders. That's like 5% of the population. You're not going to have enough people to question. It's like, all right, one of you's been lying.
We're an island. There's only so many people this could be.
Yes. And pretty much everybody knows everybody, so you can't really get away with it.
Yeah. Poor old Detective Perez, he's like, all right, it's one of me mates. This is going to be horrible.
Yeah.
I could have gone down to the pub. Who knows? Maybe he did it. And he's just really, really good at framing.
Right. So can we think of any others? I was like, I think that's our limit on. It depends how many you watch.
I don't watch that many detectives.
No.
I was going to say,
about reading, what about read? Do either of you read much in the way of detective novels?
I don't, but Amanda does.
My mum's got her Kathy Reichs ones, which from Bones was created out of those, but my mum says that actually the books are better than the TV series.
Amanda's
space.
Yeah.
Amanda's going through.
Well, from what my mum said, Kathy Reichs is also quite a bit more graphic.
Yeah, it's also whether things are shown before or after the watershed.
Yes, I
know. Yeah, if you got a programme after 9 p.m, as like I'm sure our stories would be, then you can get away with a lot more. Whereas if you're Midsummer Murders, you can't really.
Yeah.
Cut away at the operative moment.
We may do a bean pod after dark at some point. We'll see how it goes.
We shall see.
Okay, so continuing in the detective field, or murder, whichever angle you've taken, We will now find out how difficult it is to write a murder. So we're going to move into our writing challenge, and this time we decide to stay on topic and find out just how easy it is to commit a murder.
You mean I had to commit the murder within the story?
In the story? Well, this is going to be awkward.
Okay, so we're starting off with Liam's story, and after a very quick rehearsal between us, it's a bit of a script that he's written, so we're gonna have a go at it.
Yeah,
see
so
how it comes out.
I've got to read out all the actions as well. This is a new experience for all of us. So this is from a series that I am currently sort of writing because we have a radio play to finish, called Echoes, which is about a character called Amir Siddiqui who can relive the actions of people who have been attacked or are dead. So in this episode called Vestige, we have a dead victim, which Amir has to relive his final moments to try and work out some clues as to what happened to him. So, here we go. External, city street, night. Scene of crime officers, police cars and vans, and uniform officers guard the narrow, dimly lit alleyway. DS Jim Healy is stood in front of the officers by the curb. He looks at his watch. As he does, a black Ford Focus pulls up. His boss, DCI Sarah Krakowski, leaves the car. She walks towards Healy. Evening, boss.
Please tell me this isn't another one.
We won't know for sure until we get the body on the coroner's slab. This way. They both lift the tape and walk into the alleyway. We cut to the officers eyeing the car. Amir Siddiqui watches on in the passenger seat. An officer sneers at him. Amir turns away. We cut to the alleyway at night. As Sarah and Healy walk towards the body, they look above the cable running above the alley. The victim's large intestine is hung up. Pinned to the intestine are pictures of a family. Their eyes are scratched out. Sarah and Healy walk around the body.
What do we know so far?
Very little. White male, mid-30s at a guess. Deep laceration to the throat and a massive cut running down the body. No identification.
Any idea on the family?
I'm not a database boss. I don't recognise them. Sarah shoots him a look.
Go on, say it.
Say what?
I know what you're thinking.
It's a ridiculous idea. Why did you bring him here?
Because we need all the help we can get.
The man is a charlatan, Sarah.
How did you come to that conclusion, Healy?
Look, I don't know if it's in your culture to believe this mumbo-jumbo horse rubbish.
Well, what would your culture do?
Oh, I don't know. Actual detective work?
Well, unless it's gone over your stupid little mind, so far, Amir has brought down a racist cult group and a serial sex attacker.
Look, I'll be the first to admit, he's great at deductions, but he started leaping to conclusions. He's got lucky and therefore we've got lucky. Look, scoff all you want, but if the courts find out we found this evidence due to, putting it kindly, some form of clairvoyant, our balls would go nicely with whatever stew the commissioner decides to be cooking that day. Sarah just glares at him. A beat passes before Healy rolls his eyes. Fine, I'll get him. No point only one of us being insane, is there? Jesus. Healy storms off to the tape and lifts it above his head. The uniformed officers chuckle as he walks past, and he glares at them. He opens the passenger door. Come on, out. Amir meekly walks past the uniformed officers, who make ghost sounds at him. Healy backs up. Officer? Yes, Miss Lansbury. The other officers snigger. I'd shut up if I were you, or I'll kick you so hard I'll change your flippin' gender. The officer is taken aback, goes to respond but thinks better of it. Healy storms under the tape with Amir. Back in the alleyway, Healy grabs Amir. Now listen here, if you're mucking about with us, now's the time to say, round that corner is something really horrible, and I mean deeply horrible. This isn't a joke. Amir stares at Healy.
Neither am I, detective.
Healy lets go of Amir. They walk round the corner. Amir looks horrified at the scene and begins to hyperventilate. Sarah jogs to him and puts his hand on his shoulder.
Amir, I know this is difficult, but we really need you to help us with this one.
I don't know how well my gift will work.
Sorry?
It works differently with the dead.
Oh, there's a surprise.
Please shut up.
Told you, charlatan.
I'm not a charlatan. I never said I couldn't do it.
Then why might it not work?
First, he is dead. To relive the act fully, the subject must be alive. With death, the brain dies. The memories start erasing. Things become disorientated. Details become obscured.
Sarah looks at Healy. He has his arms crossed and is facing the pair of them. Well, you wanted him here. Sarah turns to the body and then back to Amir, staring right at his face.
Please, just try.
Amir nods. He walks towards the body, removing the prayer mat from his container. He places it by the body and kneels, says a prayer before touching the face of the victim. We now dissolve to a series of shots. First, we see the victim's point of view, but this time, instead of a clear vision as before, things are disorientated. His hands have become elongated, the buildings are out of vision, obscured. He has a green Nokia Lumia in his hand. The words are no longer readable, and instead are waved lines. Suddenly, his head is tilted back. From the victim's point of view, a grim face appears, a maniacal smile with red eyes alongside a blotchy face, which dissolves as a knife comes into vision. We pan back to see Amir's ghost form like before. We cut to a montage. 30 seconds appear on the screen. It begins to count down. 30. Amir sees the attacker is left-handed, is wearing some sort of glove on his right hand holding the victim, but strangely not the knifed hand. 25. The victim is stabbed in the stomach. We see the blade is moving up the body. 20. Amir runs around the scene looking for clues. He sees the attacker reach for something. He spots a mark below the thumb of the ungloved hand. 15. Shapes are becoming distorted, but Amir notices the item is cubed and green. The phone. He deduces. 10. The edges of reality are collapsing around Amir. The memory is fading quickly into white blocks. 5. The screen fills with red. 4. The faces melt, leaving only the maniacal grin. As we count down to 0, the maniacal grin turns to Amir. 0. He's back in reality. We cut to Amir, who's scurrying away from the body. Sarah and Healy grab Amir, who looks around the scene more panicked.
Amir! Amir, look at me!
Amir looks at Sarah. Healy has backed away, realising he may actually further panic Amir.
Count with me. 10, 9...
Amir joins with Sarah, counting down to 0.
Well done, Amir. What did you see?
Amir looks at Sarah.
He had a green phone. Nokia... Lumia?
What was on the phone?
He was texting. I couldn't see who. He was approached from behind. He had one ungloved hand. It had a mark. I will draw it. He took the phone. Did not see much after that.
Did you see his face? Amir turns to Healy with a frightened look.
No, sir. I saw the devil.
End of the act. There we go.
We managed it.
We managed to do it. That is quite impressive.
That was surprising.
Yes. Bar one little fluff up that I had on one of my lines, I think. But,
That's
you know,
fine.
it's all right. So
for one rehearsed go,
that wasn't that bad. So that's the sort of detail that has to go into a script if you're doing a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think that I had to speak quite a lot to explain the details, they need to know that when they're filming it. So that's always the fun side of it.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to more normal ones, I guess.
Well, ours are just
Prose.
committing murders.
Back to prose, put it that way.
Yes, back to prose. So who wants to go first? Do you want to? Or have a snippet of your dark side?
I can go. Mine's relatively short.
Okay.
Right. I'm not going to explain this particularly. I'm just going to read it.
Go.
It's a murder scene. The prompt was...
Kirsty, go.
Honestly. This was starting to get boring. Waiting in the dark isn't the most entertaining occupation. And it wasn't like I could go anywhere. Or even turn on a light. Something to look at would have been a treat. It's so quiet down here too, which makes the faint drip from a leaky pipe somewhere all the more annoying. And now, of course, flies are getting in and starting to gather, swarming to the smell of my blood. Hardly surprising, since it must be splattered everywhere. The incessant buzzing is even worse than the drip, though. It felt like an age before there was a step on the stairs and the light turned on. Finally. There in the doorway stood a uniformed police officer, who had turned very white. The young man gave a strangled cry and bolted back up the stairs with his hand pressed to his mouth. Can't say I blame him. I'd probably have done the same, but I no longer had control of my legs. I was right. I'm sitting in a large pool of blood, and it is also sprayed up the walls. The fact that I'm wearing a scarlet dress doesn't really help the situation. Not the fact that I'm propped up against the far wall, glassy eyes open and staring at the door. I should have been slumped on the floor, but I'd been pinned to the wall by a sword through my chest. If I had walked into a room and seen this, I probably wouldn't have made it back out without throwing up. At least the young copper had avoided hurling in a crime scene. Not much later, a plainclothes detective turned up, and clearly he was in possession of a stronger constitution because he stepped carefully into the room. About time, I grumbled as he carefully took in the scene in front of him, called over his shoulder for a camera, waited more patiently than I did for another uniform to photograph the scene before he picked his way over to my body. Crouching, he examined me. "What are you doing down here?" he muttered to himself. "Wouldn't you like to know?" I replied, although of course he couldn't hear me, as I was no longer connected to my vocal cords. The detective didn't seem perturbed, however. He would have had to have been insane to be expecting a reply from a corpse. "Time we found out what happened to you," he spoke again as he was done, and he stood up to talk to some of his officers who had by now dared to come in. "Well, I would tell you, but since you can't hear me, there is really no point." I kept talking anyway, because what else could I do? "It's going to take you absolutely ages to figure this one out."
Oh my god, that's a bit like Naomi Kramer's death series. You would really like that series.
That was like really a lot darker than my one.
This is like, you just sat there waiting for somebody to find a body.
Yeah. Well, mine isn't even dark. Mine is from the prompt that we were given by Rachel, with the prompts of Scarlet, Treasure, and Cat. And it just so happens that a murder is committed in this bit that I wrote. So I'm just using it because I'm not very good at writing those sorts of things normally, so I'm sticking with it. But it's very light compared to both of yours. Yeah. Tabitha Entwaite stood aft of the great wooden vessel, leaning on the bulwark in her elegant scarlet dress, a strong breeze gusting over the calm waters through which the Kitty Cradle cuts her path. The heavy material of Tabitha's dress is buffeted against her legs, her sensible black boots occasionally showing underneath. Her long, dark hair whips into her face, and she lets it, her attention focused on the horizon and the land that is over a week behind them. The day is coming to an end, the sun setting in a blaze of pinks, oranges, purples, and blues, but none of these colours are as stunning as the bright blue sapphire at the base of her throat. One hand is caged delicately around it, as though it needs protecting from the elements. She was aware of, although not bothered by, the captain's grey cat sitting beside the unattended helm. 2 ropes hooked onto the wheel, she was assured, would keep them on course in this easy weather. The gaze of the cat was focused on her, but she was used to people staring at her. Too many people tried to engage her, and so many failed. She waited for the cat to take his turn. "What is a kitten doing out here all alone?" he mused aloud. His tone did not indicate that he wanted a reply, but after watching the wake of the ship for some time, Tabitha decided to return to the present. "I am not a kitten," she stated abruptly, "and neither am I a child." The cat, or Sir Colston, as the passengers had been introduced to the feline, did not shift his eyes from the girl. "Say what you will, but you are not an adult. I am by far older than you, Sir Colston." Her voice was crisp and clear, yet a melodic undertone drew the ear in, making the listener want to stay, to lean closer, to hear more. Colston laughed. "In human years, I concede, I am only 9, but I am in reality much older than that." Tabitha returned to the past, looking across an ocean of blue and pink, tinged by the evening sky. "With such a pretty stone around your neck, you need to watch your back," Colston continued. Tabitha turned her head, catching movement out of the corner of her eye. You mean the gentleman who now walks the deck? Sir Colston flicked his tail, sneering. He, as well as others, would love to take your treasure. Let them try, and I shall strike them down. Her hand tightened around the sapphire, but her tone was even and unchallenging. Sir Colston began swishing his tail, slowly, trying to understand this young lady. I know better than most that a female should not be tested. Many a cat has lost an eye to the wrath of a queen. Sir Colston let the girl alone, so that he may observe her some more. She was a curious thing from the moment she had boarded the kitty cradle. Travelling alone, she carried no purse, only one large bag of personal effects, yet every day she wore a different dress. She rarely spoke to anyone, keeping primarily to herself and her jewel. When the weather was right, she was always above deck, standing aft, looking at where they had been. For 11 days now she had been this way, so everyone left her alone. Sir Colston's ears twitched as he heard the footsteps of the man, for gentleman was inaccurate, slowly drawing nearer, footsteps building with confidence. That warning I gave you about your back? Well, miss, get ready for a scratch, he announced with thinly veiled delight. What makes you think he is a danger to me? Maybe he is coming for you, she suggested plainly. My dear, I can read the weather, and there is always calm before the storm. Men, however, are far easier. They walk with confidence when they know what they want, and they always tell when they lie. Tabitha turned her head again, showing a glimpse of a smile. You are not a nice cat, Sir Colston, but you are honest, I'll give you that. Sir Colston sat tall. A lie may ruin 1,000 lives, but a truth will get them through it. Tabitha looked away once more, her hand at last dropping from her throat. Where did you hear such nonsense? She mused. The man was now walking the steps to the aft of the ship, solid boots on wood. Sir Colston waited, watching. Was the girl just going to stand there? The man stepped up beside young Tabitha, looking huge against her small frame. Alone in her dress, she looked tall and untouchable. Now she looked more like the young girl she appeared to be. Hail, young beauty! Why are you always alone? The man leered. Because I wish it, and you should let me to it, she countered shortly. Oh, come now, lovely, you must be afraid, and with such a stone to burden your pretty neck. Tabitha turned to face the man, looking up and up into his unpleasant face. Perhaps you should try to be honest, sir. I don't appreciate the implications in your tone. I think you need to remember that we are alone, he grinned nastily. Tabitha glanced over at Sir Colston, who was transfixed. Very well, she agreed, as both Sir Colston and the man looked at her with surprise. It is a heavy jewel, and my neck compared to yours is so thin. She reached under her dark hair to unclasp the necklace and held it out to the man. Catching his eyes with her own, she finished. You may hold it, but for only a moment, no longer than that. She placed the sapphire into his palm, his astonishment clear on his face. Looking into Tabitha's eyes once more, he suddenly froze with horror. Sir Colston couldn't see clearly from where he was sat, but something about Tabitha changed. She looked fairer, her skin like honeyed milk. Where her ears were once rounded, they now tapered up into delicate points, and her eyes were hard like stones. What are you? The man exclaimed, the sapphire dropping from his hand to the deck with a clunk. I am a fairy that cannot lie, cursed for ever until I die. Her voice, as she spoke, was musical and sweet, a magic that begged all ears to listen. Yet to listen you could hear her troubled and lonely heart, a lost soul far from home. The man quickly recovered himself. Cannot lie? Is that so? Or you might make a nice little addition to my collection. He grinned and reached out for Tabitha, but she nimbly avoided his grasp. Sir, please do not try to touch me. If you do, I'll not be happy. She gasped as she scuttled out of reach, but this time not fast enough. One of his great paws clasped about her forearm, pulling her toward the man. He chuckled darkly. Oh, I'm touching you. Are you not happy now? Sir Colston scowled at Tabitha's words. Not only was she speaking truths, she was speaking them in rhyme. I swear to you, sir, if you do not let go, you shall meet the fishes down below. He grinned, clearly thinking that he had won, despite Tabitha's warning. He reached out to grasp her other arm to restrain her completely, but the girl moved too fast. If not for Sir Colston's superb vision, he would have missed her actions entirely. She swiftly kicked the man in the groin whilst twisting his arm, holding hers in a lock. Then grabbing his arm and crouching under him, she flipped him overboard. There was a short cry and a splosh as he landed in the ocean. Tabitha watched as the yelling man became distant, and soon became no more. It was highly unlikely he would reach a shore or boat, and was sure to drown, yet the girl seemed entirely unaffected by the fate she had just meted out. Miss Tabitha! Sir Colston yowled. What have you done? She turned to face the grey cat, who backed up when he saw her eyes. They were full of marbles, the shade of bluebells, her pupils like his, tall and narrow. I have rid us of a man who was only bad. I do not mind. I don't feel sad. But, miss, you have surely killed a man. Indeed I have, as you have seen, but I am sure that your paws are not clean. That is different. I am a cat, and I am fairy, see? Sir Colston watched as the girl crouched to retrieve her necklace and clasp it round her neck, the sapphire once more gleaming at the base of her throat. Simultaneously her features returned to their former state, her skin pinker, eyes pale blue, ethereal presence dulled. Sir Colston watched the change with curiosity. That gem is much more than what it seems, much like you are more than you appear to be. Tabitha didn't reply, just shared a conspiratorial smile with the cat. She looked behind her at the retreating horizon, grey clouds slowly gathering and the final rays of the disappearing sun. I think it's time I return below deck. There is a storm brewing, and I don't wish to be caught out. The fairy girl walked by Sir Colston, sensible boots making barely a sound, her skirts a hush on the ground. I'll leave it at that. That's where the murder happened. I forgot how long it was. It was one of those where I started it and I was like, oh my god, this has so much potential, and then it went off on one. That's my murder.
There we go. Turns out we can murder people.
Yes.
In very different ways.
Technically, you and I didn't actually write any murders.
No, I wrote a murder. You
wrote
a crime scene.
Yeah. Well, technically, the murder did happen when he went back in.
Well, technically.
You know, so I sort of did.
The original prompt was a murder scene.
Yes.
So...
But because this story has been hopping around in my head ever since I wrote it, I don't realise how much there is until I'm reading it, and I go, it's quite a lot, actually.
There's actually an alarming amount of similarity between what you've written for those prompts and what I've written for those prompts.
Oh no!
There's no fairies or anything in mind. But,
no.
You know,
well, I had just read...
like, the main plot points are actually alarmingly... I'll transfer later.
Okay. Okay. So, now we have covered our stories, it is over to Liam with our news story.
Well, staying on topic with the whole Sherlock Holmes thing, Sherlock films Lost Nessie monster found in Loch Ness. Now, Natalie's taking a drink, and I think she's trying not to laugh.
Faces are regretting that.
Yeah. So, the story is, it appeared in the news a couple of weeks ago, that this person from Visit Scotland called Adrian Shine, he's working with Kongsberg Maritime from Norway, and they're scanning Loch Ness for the ravines because they said they found a new ravine that's a lot deeper. That's primarily what they're doing, and they're seeing what's on the bottom of the loch. And as always with these Loch Ness things, saying, oh, we're going to try and find Nessie. Well, technically, they found Nessie, but not the one they wanted. No, this was a prop from the 1970 film The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes, which starred, amongst others, Rob Stevens and Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee being Moriarty and Rob Stevens... not Moriarty, sorry, Mycroft, and Rob Stevens being Sherlock Holmes. Not the important bit, though. Director Billy Wilder, who did films like Some Like It Hot, hired this person called Wally Vivers, who worked with Stanley Kubrick, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and they made a 30-foot Nessie monster. But the director wasn't entirely impressed with the fact it had two humps. Now, against the rest of the crew's words, they decided to cut off the humps. That made it slightly less buoyant. So as they were filming at Loch Ness and tying it behind on a boat, and they were going out along Loch Ness, it sank. So, this poor person who's built a 30-foot Nessie has to watch his creation sink to the floor, and he's thinking, and they ended up rebuilding part of it, but then going to a studio, like a water studio that they do, and just having the head and the face of Nessie. I haven't seen the film, but quite frankly, it's got something like 7.5 on IMDb,
right,
which is, quite high when you consider it. And anything with Christopher Lee must be at least sort of watchable. So I was amazed when I read this story, because it's just the fact that they're scanning for Nessie, as they always claim, and then they've actually found it and gone, "Oh my god, what is that?" But yeah, unfortunately for Mr. Shine, he's saying, "Yeah, we found Nessie, but not kind of the one we want." So that's the story of the week.
Yeah.
There you go. Nice and short. Ridiculous.
Okay. So in that case, we will move on to our 5-minute faff, and we have Kirsty's book of, I was going to call it Complete Sherlock Holmes, but it's not. It's the Celebrated Cases of Sherlock Holmes. So we're going to pick a word.
Sexy book, as you dubbed it earlier.
Sexy book.
Natalie agrees with me.
Yes.
It's got gold edge pages and nice,
It's very nice. It's very sexy. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to find a word to base our 5-minute faff off of.
Marriage.
Oh, blimey.
Set the timer.
That's the one my finger pointed at.
Okay.
So,
marriage.
Starting now, marriage.
Okay, so,
Liam's
elephant in the room, I'm getting married, obviously. We've got several things planned, including a dance number that nobody knows about. One of the things we're doing is the fact that I'm deciding the music as we leave the church thing, and Amanda is picking it on the way in, because by that point we're going to be so fed up of weddings, we want a little bit of a surprise.
Okay.
That's some air of mystery.
I want to know what this dance is, though, because you said you need to learn how to dance. Like, well, I would help you if you told me what type of dance it is.
Last time we were recording, you were saying that you're trying to explain what the beat was.
It's impossible, but it's more the fact that I can't dance. There's a video of me that you can't find now,
That's why I was willing to try and teach you.
Yes, exactly. No, thanks to One Direction, that wonderful band, one of them being called Liam, and his dad appearing quite a lot. You can't actually find the video, which is entitled Liam's Dad Dancing, right? And that is me, who, having about 9 pints and realising nobody was dancing, decided to go up on the dance floor and get everybody up.
Didn't take 9 pints for me and my friend to do dad dancing in uni. We did a lot of dad dancing.
Take 8 pints of you to do ridiculous dancing anyway.
It was a long day. It wasn't the 9 pints at that point that made me dance. It was more the fact that it was my friend's wedding and I wanted to get everybody else up there.
Yeah.
So it's always nice seeing your friends get married, but you find out all their weird middle names.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a friend called Jim. Hi, Jim, if you're listening. I'm about to tell everyone your middle name.
Not like Kirsty's, is it?
No.
My actual middle name is fine.
That's what I mean. It's not like Kirsty.
I have an actual one and a fictional one. It's great.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But his one, for years, he said he only had one W as his middle name. And then he had... When it come to exams, we saw it was WW, and it was because one of his middle names was actually, I think, Wilfred or Winifred or something like that, and we started laughing in the middle of this church after it was mentioned.
Wilfred.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go pretty far with names for me to really notice them now. I see so many weird names every day at work. They've got to be pretty spectacular.
I recently found out by getting my birth certificate that my dad's middle name is Redshaw with an E, and I was like, "What is that? What is that?
Why
Come
not?
on!" Apparently, it's a family thing.
Okay.
I still like the fact my dad's middle name is Arthur.
That was my granddad's
King
actual
Arthur.
name.
It's that was his dad's actual name.
Yeah.
So my granddad
King
was in
Arthur.
fact called King Arthur.
Oh.
Arthur King, obviously,
Arthur
but if you
King,
see it on any
so,
register or anything, it's going to be King Arthur.
Yeah.
That is a lot cooler.
I've actually
when
come
your
across...
surname is King, being called
I have
Arthur
come across
is
names
fantastic.
in work that are actual, like, there's, in Cabin Pressure, there's a name that they make up for a character, like, one of the characters makes up a pretend customer called Arthur Milliner.
I love that episode.
I've actually come across a person with that name.
Have you not learned not to be drinking while this
Don't drink!
happens?
Don't tell them that I'm drinking. Now it makes me sound like an alcoholic. It was actually only apple juice.
But it's in a blackthorn pint glass.
That's because I work at a cider factory.
You can't help what it looks like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's just your dirty mind.
Don't go on about our dirty
It
mind.
happened to my dad. My mum, when she was younger, she used to drink like grape juice with sparkling water in it. And my dad had, I think it was a cider shandy, a cider and lemonade. They looked basically the same. He picked up hers. He was not happy.
Oh dear.
It was like grape juice with like sparkling water with like a little bit of grape juice is not the same thing as cider shandy.
No, it's not.
It's not the same drink.
There are some weird drinks that you end up having to do, especially if you go to uni.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of the things when you mix together as well.
The end result of
especially
Ring of
Fire.
Fire.
Oh my god.
The king card.
Cream.
Yeah.
Oh.
Somebody poured a whole bunch of Corky's cream in something that already had lager in it and something
we
else.
had a guy drinking Jaeger. You get putting that in.
Jaeger's acceptable, but
yeah,
Corky's
but mixed
cream.
with all the other stuff as
creamy
well.
stuff.
Mm.
Everything else being mixed together. It was the only time I actually had one that was completely undrinkable.
Oh.
Was the time they
Did
put
it
the
curdle?
Cream. Yes.
Oh!
The person who got the card at the end, we always kind of went, we're allowed to not drink it.
So that's 5 minutes. So
okay, gonna pause and Kirsty will do the count.
My official count back.
Yeah.
Right.
So we are back from our count.
And my official count is not quite as good as last time. We're down to 20. Which is still pretty good.
Yeah.
But, so we managed to get in 5 minutes from marriage to curdled alcoholic drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of.
Okay.
I don't want to know what that.
No, don't. No.
We're not going to that.
So
I'm not looking forward to this.
now we're going to try and deduce which of us is screwed in the pod challenge.
Hey.
So Kirsty's got the gene pods.
I put.
What's the current score is 2-1-1, isn't it?
Fearful shake.
Yeah, so the current
Shake
score
the
is
records.
2 to me, 1 to Natalie, 1 to
And 1 to
Kirsty.
Kirsty.
And mine wasn't particularly nasty because.
Kirsty needs to get a nasty one.
Basically, there's one definitely nasty one in here, and there are two that could be okay, could be. Meh.
Questionable.
Yeah, there are two that could be okay or questionable, and one that's definitely nasty. So,
Okay.
Oh boy.
It doesn't matter which one you pick.
it doesn't.
Shot it. Ready?
Without looking, because you don't want to
Yeah.
know.
Steady. Go.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh. What's this? Oh god. This isn't good.
Oh no.
What have you given me?
I think they might have all been bad ones, because I think I've got grass.
What have you got?
I don't know. It's not nice.
One of them was earthworm, I'm pretty sure.
I think that. No, mine's
No.
vomit.
Mine's
Yeah, that's
earthworm. I
Mine's
don't like earthworm.
Oh.
Oh, hang on.
I couldn't make
Oh!
both of you swallow.
I'm not.
Let me just get my apple juice.
Oh man! Oh, that's gross.
Oh, so that's
Double whammy, excellent.
yeah.
I did well.
It's horrible. Throw your pods at her. Oh, it's
Liam threw his
gross.
pod at my head.
Well,
Okay.
where else was I going to throw it? At your soul, which is now destroyed.
I had grass. It's not exactly a great one.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
really?
Oh, really?
Sorry about that.
Right.
Oh.
I couldn't make up my mind for the earthworm one, whether it was earthworm or cinnamon I put in there. To be fair.
It's very definitely earthworm.
They look basically the same.
Really bad.
Sorry about that. I forgot.
Well, now
Okay.
I'm going to have vomit around my mouth for a while.
I might have earthworm for a while.
Sorry about
Right, so that's it for this episode, and if you are still with us after that revolting display,
Sorry.
and yes, well done for hanging on. Please like, share, and subscribe to us, and we will see you next time, hopefully. I have been Natalie.
I've been Liam.
I've been Kirsty.
We'll
Bye.
see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
You want to run run through that, make sure you can read all my handwriting.
Yes, because I do have issues with it. Hello, and welcome to BeanPod, our writing and entertainment podcast. I'm Natalie.
Hello.
No.
You can skip that bit. Just read the bit you need to read.
In today's episode, we're talking about Sherlock Holmes. I always hate saying the word Holmes. In our second topic, we discuss all the other detectives and stories. I can't read your writing. I really struggle.
I might just fart.
Well, now that's in the bloopers. Boop. Silence.
So, viewers at home. Viewers?
No,
Listeners?
bear! Speak to the bear!
No.
Why not? That's the whole point of the bear.
It's not got much conversation. So, Mr. Bear, anything to say?
Yes.
I'll ask for that. He's staring into my soul.
He is. Staring, look into my eyes. Not around the eyes, in the eyes, in the eyes. Look in my eyes when you're random. Or not.
Not when it comes to food, mate. LSD, I think, is used medicinally as well.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Exactly. The reasoning behind that, why not?
Are they going to worry about their broken leg after it? No, I don't think so. They'll be worried about the dragon in the corner. Well, there we go.
2 inches.
2 inches.
Inch and a half. There's a
Compromise.
thick cover on it. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
I'm just going to talk
Fair
about
enough.
the
I'm
pages.
going by the cover as
Yeah.
well.
I'm talking about the pages.
Yeah.
Well, when you talk about a book, you don't talk just the pages,
Look
do
how thick
you?
the cover is.
Okay.
That does not count.
It's got some fancy paper in
It
there.
does. It's very
This
posh.
is my sexy version of
Okay, so are we ready
We are ready. I think.
to rock and or roll?
Rock and roll.
What is roll, musically? Because, you know, it went from rock and roll to rock. So what's roll?
Can't stop it.
There's a stop